All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the June 20th Roundtable, where we're going to talk about all things boundaries. And since Brittany is on, even though you're not talking or on video or anything, I would just like to shout out your post about boredom. Because that was the most active thread in the Facebook group for a while. And I think it just really, it was like, it didn't like hit a nerve. I feel like that's a funny, but it like, anyway, it was very timely and so many people really appreciated it. And so thank you for posting that, because honestly, I read it post and I was just like mind blown. I'm like, I never ever thought about boundaries in the sense of like, so that you don't get bored. Like, it was just such a great, like, I don't know, it just had never crossed my mind. And so I love it. And this is why we have a community and we share all our brilliant ideas with each other, because, well, I don't know it all. So, but all together, we know almost all of it. So it's so good. Anyway, so shout out to you. Do you want to say something or follow up with how it's going?
Yay, thank you. Well, it actually stemmed from, you have links to videos. And I was listening through those, and there's a thread of just, taking responsibility. And so, like I said, as I was going through my worksheet, that was one of those things. And once I wrote bored, I could just hear, like, we had this pastor that always said, you're not bored, you're boring. And it was always very offensive. Like, what? But anyways, when I wrote bored down, it just kind of hit me like, okay, how can I then, take ownership of this? What can I do? And the way my mind goes, that's the rabbit trail I ended up on. So I'm excited. We've got some fun, crazy stuff that we'll try. And of course, I did some, zip lining and things that we know we love. But anything to just, continue what you're teaching us.
Yeah. No, it was so good. And I just like the thread of comments underneath, like either people saying, oh yeah, we have like a date jar or an activity jar or whatever, and it works awesome. Or just like people like me where I'm like, oh my gosh, we need this. You get into like the post baby, like you don't go out at night anymore unless you have a babysitter. And so it's harder. I'm like, we need a jar specifically for at-home dates. Like things that we can do at home and like make ourselves like play a game and do things fun. Anyway, so it was very encouraging. So anybody else have an interesting like boundary or something that's come up for them that they were just like not really expecting until they got into the worksheet? P.S. Before we go any farther, I have to just share Kiana's message in the chat because she said, my objective is to be bored. I love you, girl. We all know you deserve to be bored for a little while after the season you just went through with schooling and work and whatever. So anyway, that's so cute. Okay. But does anyone have a boundary that has come up for them?
I took your advice and I asked my husband, which was not easy. And it was a personal one. And so what my husband noticed is I'm very negative when I talk about myself. And so what he's been working with me this month on is if I say something negative about myself, he asks me for 3 positive things that I have to say right then and there about either what I like about myself or what I'm doing like as a win, which isn't easy, but it's been really great because it's switching my mindset. And it's something that I didn't realize, the negative thoughts. I think it was in the present over perfect. Oh, I'm trying to remember the book that I'm reading that you recommend.
Oh, yeah. Shauna's book, yeah.
Yes.
Present over perfect.
Yes, present over perfect, yeah. And it's interesting how I've heard it before, but it's not who you are that holds you back, it's who you think you're not. So that one.
Ooh, say that one more time.
I like that. Yeah, it's not who you are that holds you back, it's who you think you're not. Yeah, so that was one of my big ones this month.
That was my mic drop. Sorry, I had to. Yeah, that was in her book?
Yeah, I think that's what, I mean, I'm reading 3 books right now, so I think it was that one, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
trying to remember that too, because every negative thought that I have is holding me back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The self-talk is a real challenge. That's, I think, what my biggest hurdle was. And I mean, it still is, but my biggest hurdle, like coming through my battle with depression, that is like the thing that I had to like really get a hold of and like understand. Like I didn't even understand that it was happening. Like I didn't know that like in my head all the time I had this self-talk going on. Like it just was always there and I didn't realize I could live without it, you know? And so I think that was the biggest thing for me. And yeah, I love what Kiana said. I always try to encourage people not to be so mean to themselves. It's crazy. And I think the one thing that's always stuck with me is, and I'm sure you guys have heard some version of this as well, but it's like, would you talk to yourself like you would talk to your kids? Or would you talk to yourself how you would talk to your best friend? Like, are you talking to yourself right now how you would talk to the people that you love most? Because if not, you probably should change that because it's really important that we, you know, yeah. So that's great. I love that your husband is doing that. And in the moment, that is called support right there.
He's all in. I'm grateful.
Boundary. Go Graham. So good. Anybody else?
So I have a business related boundary.
Ooh.
So this is crazy and I'm still not fully celebrating, but so I was referred a prospective client who came in with a plus $100,000 marketing budget. So they were going to be fine with whatever I gave them. And I said yes to speaking with them. And I noticed that as we were setting up calls, there were things like, hey, could you just do this immediately? Or could you add this to your presentation? And I was getting all the red flags of that micromanaging, everything is on fire type client. And so I just asked for us to take a brief call, and I gauged it all in that call. And I said, I actually don't think I'm the best person for this project right now. And so I called another girlfriend in business and we just kind of laughed because we were saying, there was a time where you would just take anything. And this was one of those, you could just see it coming a mile away. And no matter what their budget was, it was not worth it to me.
That's you know what? It is. It's so huge. And I think like it's so important. And I think as business owners, regardless of what stage we're at, if we run our own business, it can be so easy to say yes to the money and not look at those warning signs. Yeah, my husband got offered a job back after he'd already started his studio. And it was like double what his last job was, and his last job paid pretty well. And he turned it down because in his one-on-one working with that client that he'd done so far, he knew it would be a toxic environment. And he is like, nothing is worth that. Like that amount of money is not worth the stress and the whatever that I'd go through. So, and people were like, sorry, you turned down what? And he's like, yeah, it's not worth it. I mean, a year and a half later, we're like, maybe we no, we're not, because we know that like living without the stress and living a healthy life and living all these, like that is what is a higher priority for us than money right now. Anyway, so yeah, it can be tough, but I am so proud of you. So good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I kind of have a similar businessy one. So I've been talking to some people lately, like clients and even potential full-time roles about different work stuff. And someone I met today for the second time really like the company and they want to bring me on full-time to help build it, like they're just starting and they want someone to help kind of build everything. So it's a pretty broad marketing role. And it's really exciting for a lot of different reasons for me. It's like in areas that I like and helping small business owners. But in the past, when I've worked in a startup type environment, I've not established any boundaries and just found myself totally underwater. Like I would answer emails at like 11 p.m. on, doesn't matter what day of the week. So now going into this, I'm being really conscious, if I choose to go into something like this or any client stuff going forward, being conscious about figuring out what my boundaries are in advance and setting those expectations really early on. And in the talks I've had with him, I've been asking a lot of questions about like culture and expectations and how people work and like flexibility to get a good sense of that before I go into it and talk to some people already there. Because one thing someone might say like, oh yeah, we totally let people work from home. And then you get there and they're like, no, you need to be here from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. kind of thing. So that's a cool spot to be in. And it's nice that I'm aware of it this time because I never was in the past. So if I start a job but I'm not the person that's responding at 10 p.m., I'm like setting a precedent like right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And then if I'm like really good, like if I'm really in it while I'm there, when I'm on my working hours, I think hopefully that kind of proves I'm valuable and all that stuff. And that yeah.
Totally. And it is always easiest to implement boundaries at the beginning of something, at the beginning of a new relationship, at the beginning of a new job, working with a new client, at the beginning of a new year, when you can be like, all right, this is changing in 2019. Like sometimes we use that because we need a reason, right? So yeah, if we can stick to it and set stuff up, it for sure sets us up for success. Kiana, I want to read what she wrote. So one of her boundaries, she's demanding that my network, or I've demanded that my network take more interest in my illness. They don't understand it or what I need. So I'm making them come to my doctor's appointment, which none of them have ever done. I think it's great. If you've got close friends and family and you're sick and they're never supporting you because they don't understand, like having them come to an appointment, like they're going to become aware. That's for sure. So hopefully that will help you implement then boundaries with them in terms of them understanding like what you can or cannot do. So yeah, that's great. I don't think you can add audio, can you, Kiana? Your video just came back. Oh, you can! Yay!
You hear the train in the background? You hear me talking?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I have a mental illness. And no one understands it. They don't even know it's real. They don't understand it at all. Like my mom is sick, and I go to her doctor's appointments. I ask questions. How do we do this? What does she need? What can I do to help? Nobody does that for me. Because it's like an invisible illness. You can't see it. My leg's not broken. So it's just been causing problems. So I'm like, you know what? Let's try another approach and get them to actually come to a doctor's appointment and see that there are professionals who have gone to school for a decade who actually understand this and it's real. The medicine is real instead of giving me Google advice.
I think it is so important, actually. It's a great boundary about advice. Have any of you had to put down a boundary about people giving you advice? I have not with parenting yet, but I feel like I will need to. But actually, parents and stuff and friends have all been pretty good. Like, I think everyone in my kind of immediate network, like, realizes, like, you need to kind of go through this journey on your own and, like, figure it out. But has anyone had to, like, be like, you are no longer allowed to talk to me about this topic? Has anyone ever had to do that?
Yeah, I've done that in relationships and I've done that with parents. Both my parents, actually. And I've even started doing that in a way with content I consume because I read so much for work I do. And I was getting so down on myself reading all of these how-to articles and this is how you have to run your business and this is what it needs to look like. And I just found it really overwhelming. And I was starting to feel so much guilt and shame. And then I wasn't creating anymore because I was just like paralyzed by all this stuff. So I almost had to set a boundary of I'm not going to listen to all this external advice anymore because I think I know inside me what I need to be doing. but I was kind of letting my intuition get drawn out by what everyone else is doing and what everyone else thinks you should be doing. So that's not a permanent thing for me, and I do that occasionally, even like with social media breaks, and I do that with content consumption breaks, and even like people I really, really admire in business or podcasts I love, sometimes I have to take breaks. I'm like, I can't listen to their how-tos right now and their advice. I need to just like do me for a second, and then I'll catch up to you in like a month or two.
Totally. Content breaks is huge, or like unsubscribing from emails. And like, I just found, because my theme that for 2018, it's focus and do, like those are my words. And so it was just really important for me to like shut off as much noise as I can and like just focus on like, just do the work that I know I need to do. Not like, I'm still trying to read because I really enjoy that. But like, I'm hardly listening to any podcasts. I'm not really, like, I unsubscribed from so many newsletters. I'm not like, and part of me, I love learning. So that's hard. And that's an interesting thing too about boundaries, is it's really hard to still implement them when it means saying no to something that we love, which I think is something to acknowledge. Like, sometimes boundaries are hard, not because we're afraid of like the reaction or the friction that might cause in a relationship, but sometimes it's hard just because it's like, but I really want to do this, right? And we're saying no to ourselves. And sometimes those are the hardest ones, because it's like, but I don't see the benefit yet, like I don't see the long-term goal. So that is good. That's good. One of the things that I had mentioned that we could chat about, and I don't know how this is for you guys or how much it's affecting things, but the circle of love. Any interesting observations? Some people I know commented in the Facebook group last week, and they were like, actually, this was really easy. I realized that like I already had people very well placed, and like it was good. That's fantastic. You know what I mean? Like that's so great. So any, like, even that is an incredible observation. So any observations that you guys had?
I realized that most of my people are like outside of my circles. Like I need to start bringing more people in, get closer, I think. So it was a little sad to do the circle of love for me.
I experienced a very similar thing. I've been just yesterday, Joseph was like, you've been talking to me a lot lately. I was like, okay, does that mean I haven't been? I just think with like baby and work and whatever. And he's like, yeah, he's like the other night you started a conversation about this. And then like last night, he's like, you just started talking to me about friends. And like, we just were talking about that. And that's what the circle of love brought up for me. Is it's like, we have our family. We love our family. We're very clear that like the three of us is the highest priority. And then it's our extended family. But I'm like, I really need to work on the friend thing. Like I'm a high introvert, so I don't need a lot of friends. And I'm a pretty low maintenance friend too. Like I don't need to spend a lot of time with someone to be a really good friend. I just need you to go deep with me. If you can't go deep, then I don't need you. I mean, I do, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be really investing a lot of time and energy into relationships that don't go deep. I want to keep you just at like the friend level. And so I realized, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Part of it's because of my season or whatever, but I do like, I need to bring a couple people into my world to go deeper. Cause yeah. So I hear ya. I was very challenged by that when I went through it. Yeah. Kiana said, I don't even recognize some of my new circle. You might need to clarify that one. You don't recognize the people in it? I'm not sure. I'll let you clarify.
So new.
What that means. Oh,
I stopped talking to my best friend of like 20 years last year. And my brother is not talking to me. And I have some new work friends. I have a new job and this new degree and doing all these new things. And I just have all these new people. And I don't even know how to deal with it because I'm an introvert and I don't really like people that much. So my normal circle is much smaller than it used to be, and I have all these new people in my life, and I don't really know how to integrate them in. I don't make friends easily.
Yeah, I've found that I have a really hard time. I can make like acquaintances and like friendly with people and like that I'm really good at. But I think just as an adult, it's just harder to make friends because we have all these filters and all these judgments about like how we see people or expectations that we have for a friendship. And if that's not fulfilled, then like, I don't know. Anyway, so that's interesting. A ton of like new people in the circle that and it's hard to figure out. Like my husband and I, when we do this, I mean, we do it at least once a year, but usually we check in halfway through the year and we're like, okay, so how do we feel like things are going? And we've had a couple times where we've had like some friend couples. I don't know, for those of you that are dating or married, like you might know, but that's like where it's like you get along with one person. So you try to be like couple friends. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so sometimes we've been like, okay, let's see if we could build, because it would be really great if like as a couple, we got along with them really well and we could build with them and like go deeper, all four of us, rather than just like me and her or whatever. And so we'll test it for a couple months and we'll purposely like try to hang out in those conversations, like try to build that way, be really purposeful. And sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. So that's the thing about friendships and relationships is like it takes time and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And we just have to, I think just have to be okay with that. You know, some friends are meant to fill, like all people are meant to fill different roles in our lives, right? So anyway, any other thoughts from the circle of love? Okay, bye, Kiana. Have a good night. Thank you. It looks beautiful wherever you're walking, by the way. I'm so jealous. I want to do this call while I'm walking outside. I'm like, that would be incredible. Any other thoughts?
My husband said we should post our circle of love in our kitchen so everyone can see where they stand when they come in. It's like, do you want to make our circle smaller?
Oh my God, Catherine.
That was the wrong time to take a drink. I literally was like, and it's sparkling water too. So like if it goes the wrong way, man, it was coming out everywhere. Whew. So how did that conversation go?
Yeah, I said we're having such a hard time with this that we wouldn't want to broadcast that because yeah, he's totally just joking, but I thought it was hilarious that he's like, that's fine. We need to be honest with our friends. Let's be honest with our friends.
Oh, it's so funny. I do not recommend that. It's kind of like Kate's activity audit when her boyfriend came over and she was like, oh, I'm glad he's on the wall in the yes column, because that would be an awkward way to, anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so funny. The one good thing I have to say is if you share this exercise with people and people understand it or they've done it before, you can totally have the conversation of like, hey, you know what? I've been looking at my circles and I'd like to bring you closer. Are you up for that? And like, you can just have that kind of like honest conversation. You know what I mean? Like, not with very many people, but anyway.
I think that's a neat way to put it. I want to bring you closer in my circle. Like, I feel like who wouldn't want that? Anyway.
Yeah. But I think what's really interesting about relational boundaries is that we have to be so, and not even the boundary part, but with relationships, we have to be so clear about expectations, about what are we expecting from other people. And I don't like communicating that until I like put my feelers out. And I feel like maybe that's why I have such a hard time, is because I know what I want, but I never tell someone like, hey, I would love to have really deep conversations with you and like gut honest level, like what's going on in my life. Are you up for that? Like, I don't just throw that out there. And so I feel like even though I just like test the waters, I like throw out a deep question and see what their answer is. And like, if they keep coming back, like throwing like shallow minnows at me, then I'm like, nah. You know what I mean? Like, I just stop because I'm like, they just don't seem interested. But I'm like, maybe I actually need to just ask. Say, hey, I would like to be better friends with you and be able to talk about things other than kids and food. Are you open to that conversation? You know, like, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to think about when it comes to relationships and friendships, right? When we bring people closer. Maybe instead of just being like, oh, well, they don't want to, I should just outright ask. Any thoughts on that? Is that bad advice? Is that a bad train of thought for me?
I don't know. I feel like that's a lesson I'm learning just across the board in life, is like asking for what I want, and that people aren't psychic, and that I can't just wait for people to come to me with the thing that I want. I can just ask. Like, I could ask I can ask my boyfriend, or I can ask friends, or I can ask family, like, hey, do you want to do this thing? Or do you want to talk to this thing? Like, it's so easy for me to sit back and then get frustrated that, like, why aren't my boyfriend and I talking about serious conversations? I'm like, when was the last time I asked him like any thought-provoking question? Oh, wait, I haven't. I'm just like waiting for someone else to do the work for me. And that's like, why am I putting that on someone else? So, yeah. And I'm not good with that with friends in general. I realize that I expect other people to be really vulnerable before I show anything about myself. So I'm good with like the making acquaintances and everything, but then there's kind of like a wall there, and I haven't realized that it was actually me. And I'm expecting people to be really like share so much before I even like share a tidbit about myself. Like,
and I think that's where I'm realizing, like, doing this exercise and being like, do I have any like really like true like friends?
Yeah, that's how that came up for me.
Yeah, that came up for you too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've got these acquaintances.
I feel like
do I have any like really, really close friends? And then I was like, oh God, I don't want to answer that question.
I answered that question, and I was not thrilled with the answer I came up with.
Yeah. And then I realized, I'm like, oh, because I'm not really making an effort. Like, I can't sit here and be like, I can't find the right people or people I connect with. Like, well, have you tried?
Yeah,
no.
I know.
So then maybe you should stop complaining, Kate. That's the real conversation I had with myself. Yeah.
Me too. It sounds like the last few days have been quite similar for the two of us.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Catherine thing.
Maybe.
I want to read Brittany's comment, because she said, I'm on the fence about someone who may need to move outside my circle. And that is always tough. The thing that I've done, and I don't know if this is always the right approach, sometimes I think when it's very specific, and Kate, you gave a great example of this with one of your parents, of like telling someone they need to leave your circle, and this is why, and this is for how long. But then I also think that there's people that we can just phase out, and they might not actually notice. Does that make sense? Like, sometimes it doesn't need to be a confrontation to put someone outside of our circle. We just reach out a little less frequently, or, you know, like, and that's okay. We're not as intentional with basically how I sometimes think it can happen is we just become more intentional with the people we want to draw close. And our time and effort is going into those people, so it automatically isn't going into the other people. So we can kind of like phase them out of our circle without having to push them. Does that make any sense? Or does that feel like manipulative? I don't think so, but I just want to, like, I think like as we're intentionally bringing people and investing in the people that are closer to us, the people we're not investing in are going to slowly drift further away because we're pulling these people closer. And that doesn't mean we have to drop the conversation altogether or drop the friendship or relationship altogether, because Brittany's comment is, the more I pull back, the more she tries to dive in. Okay, that is challenging. We'll have to have an honest conversation. It's a personality difference. Yeah, honestly, I can say this because not many of you know, and Haley understands this. My sister's exhausting. I love my sister to pieces. She's wonderful. We could be best friends. But like, her energy, her go, she's just and I just like, I have a time limit that I am happy to be with her. And once I hit that time limit, like I have to find a way to end, because otherwise I get cranky because the introvert in me gets so exhausted. So anyway, and she's my sister and I love her, and Haley knows her, and we were both in her wedding party. I was her maid of honor. Like, we really truly are good friends, but I got a time limit that we are best friends, and then it's over. Like, and that's just how it is. And it's all just a personality thing. It's not because I don't love her. It's not because we go deep. We talk about deep stuff and it's great and it's encouraging. I just need small doses. Anyway, she knows this. We've had that conversation. So, anyway, yeah. Kelly's like,
I found with some friends like that, yeah, I would describe it kind of similar, just too high energy for me. Instead of always, when they're asking me to do things or asking me to hang out, instead of always being like, no, or making up excuses, starting to say like, you know what, that's not going to work this month, but let's do something in September, and like picking some date in the future. And that seems to somehow satisfy, not with everyone, but for some people that seems to work, because instead of just putting it off with no time frame, I'm kind of saying like, this is when that's going to work. So I'm kind of showing that there's still a priority on some level for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of managing and regulating that.
That
so
is
it's not like, oh, I hate you, I don't
true.
want to talk to you. It's just like, you know what, things are crazy and honest, whatever's going on, or I'm just like, I'm kind of lots going on and I kind of need my weekends to decompress right now, but I'm going to have more time in August or whatever it is. And like, I'd love to plan a night out with you then. So I found that's helped me with those type of friends. Yeah.
It is a tried and true, like, hey, I'm only available until, or I'm not available until whenever due to current commitments. And it's a great way to do it for sure.
And even setting up those things on a day when I have something else, like if I want to see that person for a constrained amount of time, I'm maybe not saying let's meet for dinner, and then they're going to be like, let's go to a bar, and I'm like, I don't want to go to a bar, and then I have to make up excuses. So I might say kind of like, I don't know, coffee or something, and I have something after, like I have a dentist appointment or something, like I have to leave because I have a commitment to someone else. So I'm like, I have 2 hours with this person or 3 hours, and then I have like a real concrete reason that I need to say bye, and I can't talk my way out of that or be convinced to stay, I guess.
Yeah, totally. The other thing too that I've done that with moving people out, but I've also done that with moving people in. People I know I need to bring in close, but I'm not comfortable with it. I give myself short periods of time, and then I literally would celebrate it like a win. Like, oh my gosh, I spent this much time with this person and there wasn't an argument. But doing something where it was like, okay, we're going to do this, or do certain activities where we're doing something rather than just sitting and talking, right? So it's like ways to bring people in to help heal relationships. In easing them in, you can use some of the same tactics as easing them out, if that makes sense. At least that it's worked for me. Well, I find it very interesting that for most of our conversation about, I mean, it's because we're talking about the circle of love, but like, yeah, it's good. Anyway. Any other thoughts on it? No, we're good. Okay. Have any of you implemented any of your boundaries yet? I know that it's not on like the week's actions until next week officially, but have any of you taken action and communicated them? Jennifer, you're nodding.
Well, it's really just with my phone. That's the main thing. So this morning I didn't go. I said no Facebook, Instagram, or email until after 10 a.m. And this was the first morning, and it was so hard this morning. But I ended up like cleaning the whole house, and then going to yoga class, and then checking my phone at like 1:30. So it just like that little bit of time like got the ball rolling, and I got into some other projects that needed to get done. So
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely need a hard stop phone end of day. Because that's how I don't go to sleep when I should. Because it's like, oh, I finally have everything done. So I'll sit down and just be like, okay, you want to just sit for 15 minutes? Sure. And then we both got on Instagram. And then like 30, 40 minutes later, it's like, oh. That wasn't a smart use of time. So that's definitely something that I need to like hard stop with my phone and hard stop for bed. Like I have to. It's so hard. Guys, how do you go to bed in a good time? Do any of you do this? I want to know all the things.
It's tough because that's the time for my husband and I to like get together and talk and relax. And so
I know.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm good at it when I'm on my own. Like I don't live with my boyfriend. So I'm good when I'm on my own. I can be in bed by 10, but like nights that we're together, then yeah, it's like we want to like hang out and see each other. We haven't seen each other all week or whatever it is. So then it always gets shot nice and with him. And then it's more like 11 or 11:30. And then I can't wake up at 6. I'm like, oh yeah, because my body needs like 7 or 8 hours of sleep. So I have not figured that out. I'm good when it's just me, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to do that with a partner.
Yeah. It's just so hard because I find like Em goes to bed and then I usually have to finish dishes because I don't get the kitchen cleaned up while she's still awake. Like right before bedtime is usually not children's happiest time of day. And so it's like by the time I clean up the kitchen and then we were relaxing too much and not getting anything done. But now we've swung to like where we work, but then by the time we're done our projects, we need to relax before we go to bed because we need to decompress. So we're still trying to figure this out. Like, how do we be productive? But we like have to hard stop what we're doing so we can give ourselves 30, 45 minutes to just talk, decompress, chill, sit before we're like ready to go to bed, but not be on our phones. So anyway, we're still trying to figure this out and it's not been as successful as I wanted to. Because guys, real truth confession, my June, one of my main goals was my morning routine. It is in my calendar. I've done it once in 20 days. Once. Because getting up at 6 a.m. when you're not going to bed on time, it is rough. It is just not, I'm a sleeper. Like I need sleep. Anyway, it is just not working out for me. So I need a different plan of attack. And none of you have advice? Guys, this is not helpful for me. If you're watching the replay, send me a message on Facebook or send me an email if you are really good at going to bed at a certain time at night. Brittany, bedtime routine. I'm not consistent with it, but it worked. See, but I need something that I can be consistent with. I just find like my bedtime routine, yeah.
Do you have an alarm? Do you set an alarm on your
Yeah.
phone? Yeah.
Well,
Like
not
alarm
all.
for bed?
Yeah.
I use the iPhone, in the clock. Oh gosh, come on, phone. There's a bedtime thing. So I say bedtime at 10 p.m. So at 9:30, it's not an alarm though, but a notification comes on my phone saying, you need to get ready for bed now because I've said I need half an hour to get ready for bed. So it says at 9:30, you need to get ready for bed now if you want to get 8 hours of sleep tonight. Which is kind of cool, but it's not the same. So yeah, I think I just need to set alarms at night. But then you have to remember if you're out to turn them off or your phone goes off. This is the thing. This is why alarms at night.
That's true. Well, I mean, are you usually out at 10 o'clock at night? I mean, if you don't
Only
sit
if I'm volunteering.
Right.
Or on a live call or like something.
That's true. Graham and I found that we wanted to try together because Kate, I'm the same as you. Before I was married, I rocked my evening routines. I had my jam, and then we got married, and I was like, "What is this?" And we wanted to hang out all the time, so we would like fall asleep on the couch together, and that's just. It felt great, but at the same time, I knew that the mornings didn't work out so well. So what we've actually been doing for the past year is Graham sets an alarm. My husband Graham. He sets an alarm for 10 o'clock. We finish up anything we haven't done that we wanted to get done in the next 15 minutes. We go to bed, and we read. What we were doing is we were reading the same book. We would read for half an hour, 45 minutes, hopefully not fall asleep. And then at like 11 o'clock, we would chat a little bit about it and then go to sleep. And it felt like it ended our day on like, we're on the same page, literally.
Literally.
And that really...
I just got that. Sorry, that was good.
But we found that really helped us because not only was it a night routine, but we were doing it together and we were doing the same thing. So in the last 15 minutes before we went to bed, I would help him with something, he would help me, or we would both accomplish something and then go to bed. And then, yeah, like it's been great. We haven't done it since I had my surgery because things have been a little bit different. So past month, we haven't been doing it and I've felt the difference. So yeah, that's something that we felt worked. And the alarm, he would, like, it was an alarm that you could not ignore. So, yeah.
That's really cool. Are you guys a really similar personality type?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm thinking, like, I don't know if that would work for me. That's really cool, though. I like that idea.
I love it that you are reading the same book.
Yeah.
There are books I want to read with Joseph. I just don't know if, like, here's my problem. I don't read stuff well at night. Like, I have, like, once it's, like, 9:30, my ability to have an intellectual conversation or process anything or retain anything, like, plummets. So I just, like, this is why we used to resort to, like, oh, let's watch a show before we go to bed or let's do whatever because, like, the things that spout out of my mouth aren't necessarily helpful. I'm not kidding. You should ask. If you ever get the chance to talk to Joseph, you should just ask him how incoherent I become. And then with every, like, 30 minutes that passes, it just gets worse and worse. And then, like, the other night we were up late because, well, it's Em's birthday. So I've been doing some extra baking and making her sugar cookies, and we iced them last night. Anyway. But the one night I was up late, and so by the time we'd gotten in bed, I'd gotten another wind. And so I was like, and Joseph's like, okay, you are so overtired. You need to go to sleep now. He's like, tired? You don't talk. And then it hits this point, and then I'm just like, so anyway, yeah. But I like that. That's so good. I'm gonna think about this because I need sleep, man.
Yeah, so maybe start yours earlier because we are still, like, both of us.
I need to be, like, ready to asleep by 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're both like, we can't fall asleep before 11. So that's why that works for us to do all of that.
Yeah. No, my goal is sleep 10 to 6. Get up at 6 and do my whole morning routine before I go in to feed Em at 7. It hasn't worked so well. But what it has done, I will have to say this, even just having the goal and having it in my calendar, I have done the things in my morning routine throughout my morning more frequently. So, like, when she's gone down for her nap, sometimes instead of, like, rushing to do something or, like, heading down to work right away, I'll just take 30 minutes and do some of those things on the list and just, like, sit on the couch and do my journaling. And, like, I've been listening to a podcast more, or, like, you know, like, so it has been helpful. It just hasn't been the time that I was hoping it would be. So, baby steps, right? Progress, not perfection. I have to tell myself.
Have you tried wearing an eye mask when you sleep?
No.
I just started doing it, and I fall asleep like that.
Does it really work?
Yeah.
Wow.
What kind of eye mask?
It's just one of the cheap ones. Like, I think I got it off an airplane, but
Like just
that
the travel.
blocks out light?
yeah, it blocks out the light, and it kind of, like, it sets this tone. It keeps my eyes closed, and I just have to, like, lay there, and I sleep so deep since doing it.
Wow. I should try that. We should do, like, a sleep test in the quarterly. For 1 week and tell everyone, okay, what is your ideal amount of sleep that you should be getting? Let's all commit to each other to go to bed, get that, and be in bed for that amount of time. And we're going to try using sleep masks, and we're going to see how we feel.
Post pictures.
The new members of the quarterly are going to be like, what have I joined? What have I done? I'm out.
Good thing they don't get this replay. That's so funny. I don't know. I feel like I should just throw it out there as like, okay, who wants to make a commitment to get more sleep in the next week? And we should just see what happens.
I like
Are
that.
you guys in?
I'm in.
Yeah.
It's like a sleep contract. Anyway, okay. I'm going to read Brittany's bedtime routine ended with an essential oil bath or a cool shower. That time away from my phone or TV made me ready for bed. Then I followed up with a bedtime scented lotion. When I do it, it works. That's so cool. See, I'm allergic to fragrances, so it's great. But I do know that there's a lot of value in that. Okay. I'm writing down the sleep commitment thing, and maybe tomorrow I'll post something in the Facebook group. Any other thoughts on boundaries of any kind?
I have a tough one. It's a work one. And I've brought it up to my boss before because we have a text chain between all the yoga teachers. And it's just like if someone needs a sub or is talking about something about the studio, my phone is just blowing up with all these messages. So I've talked to her about doing something else, like I think Slack is a thing or whatever. So I wanted to just go check on it when I'm in the work mode. And I could, but she's not into it. And she prefers getting the text messages and things. So I don't really know how to go about setting that boundary of getting less work texts. Do you have any ideas?
The only idea I have is what I do with all of my stuff is I don't open a text message from anyone until I have time to reply to it. So my husband is the opposite. He opens text messages when they come and then he forgets to reply to people. So it's just something I've been doing for years now. And so it's like, if I don't have time to read and respond, then I don't open it. So that's the only thing that I would recommend is like, even though it comes in, if you're not planning on doing work stuff until whatever, like just don't open the chat, like don't get into it. And then you'll have more to catch up on, obviously, and maybe a shift or a class will be taken. But if it's more important for you to be able to separate, then I would just leave it. Because I don't think there's really anything you can do on your phone to like not get certain messages at certain times. Like you can't really do that like you can with email.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys have any other ideas?
I agree with you. And when it's business, because me being a designer, people want to send an email and then follow up with a text.
You are
did
not
you
the
see
only
my
one.
email? Yeah, I did. You just sent it. But when it's work related, if they're communicating with me in a medium that I don't want, I delay my response. So I think that's kind of what you're saying. You're saying don't read it right away, but like, I guess if she texts you, then reply in an hour. And if she emails you, reply in a more appropriate time so that she understands that's the way to get you. I had somebody who really didn't want to respect that. She would text. And in the beginning, or first, of course, I told her that the best way was email, or if we scheduled a phone call, then we could get on the phone. But I would literally copy the text and just put it in the email and reply that way. And after a couple of times, she got it that like, okay, it's email. So
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that is good when it works, right? When the person who is in charge of the relationship is saying, this is how we're communicating, then it's trickier because you can't change it. But yeah, that is a great way to do it, Brittany. I would copy the text into the email and reply back.
Yeah, I think similar to Catherine, actually one thing I've started doing with Slack in some groups is turning off the push notifications on my phone. because I try to do the thing where I'm only going to open the chain if I know I have time, but like sometimes it's too tempting, or even just seeing it on my screen gets me distracted and then I can't think about other stuff. So I turn off my push notifications so I don't get those alerts. And then I tell myself, okay, and I try to make it into part of my routine. Like every time before lunch, I go and like check in on the Slack group, or I do that at the end of my day or whatever it is. And that only works if it's not super time sensitive. So it's not like where I have to respond within an hour, but if it's something, is it going to work if I only respond twice a day? And so far since doing that the last like 2 months, nothing bad's ever happened from that. Like I haven't missed anything. But it's making myself remember when I am going to check it. But that really helped me by turning off the notifications, because it was just too overwhelming to like see those chains and everyone's follow-up all the time. So just having that off of my lock screen and then somehow putting it into my daily routine in a way that I would remember, like, okay, I check this. Maybe it has to be 3 times a day. I don't know. Maybe it's once a day. But
Okay, I like that.
Help me with that.
Yeah, turning off the notifications might work.
Yeah. And then remembering, and maybe it's even like setting an alarm if you're worried that you're going to forget, or that it's time sensitive, that you have to, I don't know, sign up to teach a class by whatever time of day. So maybe even setting an alarm on your phone, and you can like label the alarms in your phone, like check whatever it is. That might work.
Okay, yeah. Usually nothing's very time sensitive. So that's not really an issue. But yeah, I like that, turning off the notifications, because I always see it and then I get like wrapped up in whatever it is.
Yeah, even if I don't open the chain, the fact of seeing the notifications, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I was going to say. That's the bigger issue with notifications. Not that we're getting notified that something's there and then we go look at it. Then it's fine. It's that we see something's there, but we're in the middle of something, so we're trying to finish what we're doing, but then we keep like thinking about, oh, what did they text me about? I wonder if it's urgent. Oh, my dad sent me a message. I hope everyone's healthy. I hope no one's in the hospital, you know, like, and then our brains just like can run with this because we see this darn notification on our phone. So I'm a huge fan. I have almost everything turned off. I get hardly any notifications anymore. Like I only get push notifications for my Modern Planner Slack community, because I didn't have it on for a while and then I was like missing things. Sorry, not Modern Planner Slack community, like the Modern Planner, like with my team. Sorry. You're not missing anything. I promise. And then I do like text, but like nothing else. No other apps. I don't get anything from Instagram, like nada. Cause it's just, I'm like, I don't want that. So yeah, it's so good. So good.
I have to run, guys. Sorry to jump out early, but good to see everyone.
That is okay. Thanks for joining in, Kate.
See you guys soon.
See ya. We really have talked about all of the kind of like things that I had. So unless anyone has any extra burning things that they've got, but I think we've all shared things and helped each other. So I feel like that is the purpose of the roundtable call. Thoughts on, are we all good on the topic of boundaries? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to keep this in the replay, because if people are watching the replay, I would love their feedback. So if you're watching the replay, listen to what I say and then reply back in an email. That would be great. Thank you. I love you. Okay. Basically, the first couple months that we did the roundtable, there were a lot of people on the calls and they were like the highlight of the month. I don't know if it's a night thing, but the last few months, the participation like live on the roundtable has been a lot lower than it was the first few. So I'm thinking about putting up a poll once our new people are in. Like the email that I have ready to send out on Monday, it has Wednesdays at 7 p.m. with the 3 dates. But I'm very open to moving it. I know the reason why I wanted to do one evening call out of all the calls that we do is because so many people work, or like there are some people that work that can't watch calls during the day. So I wanted to try to give people like another option. Like I'm trying to keep my times very different and not like every call that I ever do is at the same time, because then we miss people. And now we have even more time zones in the next quarter. Like there's at least 3 people in Europe. We've got somebody in Australia. So like I'm trying to be very aware of like keeping things different. Anyway, so this is the only call that we do at night, but it's not necessarily getting the participation that it was at the beginning. So I'm wondering if we should move it. And if so, if I do it during the daytime, are we going to lose all those people? So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but I'm going to do a poll once we get started in a couple weeks, I think, and just I'll keep the first one in July because then everyone will have that in their calendar. But then for August and September, I could move it. Any thoughts?
Well, all I can say is coming up in the next beginning of July, my schedule is going to change a little bit, and so the Wednesday evenings isn't going to work for me anymore either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll do a poll and like once we get started and just like maybe give like 3 options for when the roundtable call could be. My childcare is a little bit hit and miss in the summer. But once we hit September, M is in 3 days a week. It's very consistent. Like I can plan around it. So anyway, all right, I will do that. Well, thank you guys for coming. And I hope you guys enjoyed the replay if you watched.